Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the MENA Growth Series. This is the last one of this week's series, and thrilled to be talking about the topic of ad fraud. So, when I say thrilled, it's because it's a really interesting area that I think we can all learn a great deal about. So, looking forward to hearing from our panel today, ably led by Abdul Nabi, who will be taking us through all the discussions and issues, challenges, and solutions around this very important topic. So over to the team. Thanks very much for making yourselves available and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good afternoon for the people in the GCC. Good morning for the people joining from outside the region. Um, Today's topic it's not a new topic. It's for lots of people, I'm sure that you were surprised to see we are in the year of 2026 and we are still talking about ad fraud. Um, However, there are so many changes happened within the ecosystem within ad fraud and inventory in the past couple of years. Ad fraud as a topic, it will always be with us. It will always evolve with the evolvement and progress of the technology uh, in media and non-media, to be honest. Today, um, I'm happy and thrilled to be joined by industry leaders when it comes to the topic of ad fraud and the impact of ad fraud on our day-to-day business. Be it an upper funnel, mid or lower funnel, be it a performance business, be it a web-based or an app-based, be it an e-com or just awareness slash mass clients. To help join me to welcome Andrew Healer, Senior Director from IAS, Jonathan Gardner, the Head of Sales and Partnerships from Tapper, and last but not least, Wasim Naimni, the Regional Managing Director of MIQ in the region. So first of all, for everyone, feel free to post your questions, share your opinion on the chat. We'll make sure to address it either during the session or after the session. I would like to start with some fundamental questions, starting with Andrew. Today, as a global tech specialized in third-party verification, and one of these verifications is ad fraud, how would you define ad fraud?
Yeah, as you said, it's been an evolving topic, but the fundamentals have remained the same. Um, the way we think about it is that ad fraud, in very, very simple terms, is non-human traffic. And that's traffic that is essentially designed to prevent ads from being delivered to their intended audience to generate illegitimate revenue to individuals or groups of fraudsters. But one thing I would say, we talk about frauds, and I think that can be slightly misleading because certainly at IAS and within the industry, we talk about invalid traffic, which I think is probably a more accurate term. It's otherwise known as IVT. And there's two types of IVT or invalid traffic, general invalid traffic and sophisticated invalid traffic. General invalid traffic is still non-human, so it's still a waste of media budget, but it's not deliberately malicious. An example of this would be something like a search engine, which will have search engine bots or spiders or crawlers, which are sent out to help categorize their search results. It's not deliberate fraud, but it is still non-human traffic. And as we know, bots don't book holidays, so it is wasted media budget for brands and advertisers. The good news on this side of things is that it can be filtered out relatively easily with simple list-based filters. They're kind of known knowns, as it were. The real challenge, the real fraud is SIVT, which is sophisticated invalid traffic. This is more the deliberate, intentionally fraudulent activity designed to evade our systems and to mimic human behavior. So it's things like hidden ads, hijacked devices, cookie stuffing, click farms. And of course, for us at IAS, that's our main focus because it is a constantly evolving landscape. They're constantly coming up with new ways and methods of evading detection. It's a game of whack-a-mole for us, but it's high stakes because it's a huge industry, multi-billion dollar industry. And we're seeing a real shift, although it's always been the case, sort of around video inventory, but more towards the likes of CTV, for example, which I'm sure we'll come on to. We see about 3 times more fraud in CTV or the high premium CPM environments than open web, for example. In terms of how we detect and measure ad fraud, we have a 3-pillared approach. So the first pillar is deterministic, so it's more around the rules based. So as I say, the known knowns to identify unusual patterns. The second pillar is more, I'm going to say AI first. So we have a probabilistic AI machine learning tool to use big data to detect any uncommon patterns at scale. The third piece is our threat lab, which is importantly a human team which interprets any kind of analysis to uncover these kind of threats. The last piece I'll say, which is critically important and delighted to be hosted by the IAB today, is working with industry bodies, so MRC, TAG, and the IAB Tech Lab, for example.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. That was a quite extensive definition of ad fraud and IVT. But I want to move to Jonathan. Today, we can see lots of businesses moving into the app environment, launching their apps, be it a QSR, e-com, banking, you name it. Where basically we started to hear a lot from the MMP side, the word ad fraud or fraudulent traffic or fraud inventory or fraud conversion, you name it. Does this differ from what Andrew was saying when it comes to the app business, and how would you define it basically?
Yeah, I mean, look, MENA itself is an app-heavy market compared to the rest of the world. So as we develop as a business and as fraud develops, as time goes on, what we're seeing today is numerous types of fraud. So click spam, click injections, spoof installs, SDK spoofing, and attribution hijacking. And because it's so developed and, like I said, I'll say the word AI now, and as that's getting more and more in depth, these spam and click spams are generating huge volumes of background clicks. Basically, they're going to eventually claim attribution for the installs that were going to happen organically anyway. So what we did on our report we released last month on mobile ad fraud specifically is we saw that especially in Android devices, click injection clicks milliseconds before the install. So they're actually having that last touch attribution to steal that install. So I guess the biggest challenge here, not just in MENA actually, globally, is that attribution can be confirmed after the install has happened, but not always whether that install was genuinely driven by that campaign, and that creates a gap where the fraudsters can actually manipulate that attribution and they're still getting paid for that conversion. So from our side, at Tapper, we're very performance focused. So, we're looking at it less of like a media quality problem and more of like an optimization problem, because these platforms, Google, Meta, Snap, TikTok, what have you, they're optimizing towards the signals that they're receiving. So if it's bad signals going in or manipulated traffic going in, it generates those conversions and the algorithm naturally starts scaling more towards it. So we see it kind of the lower funnel and cleaning that kind of at the start. And, that's where fraud comes in and it impacts CPA, conversion quality, optimization, targeting, overall campaign performance, and all the rest of it. So the way it's developing here on a global level, the app fraud or modern app fraud is often attribution and it's disguised as performance. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of an overall view from my side.
Great. So we spoke about ad fraud in general. We spoke about fraud on mobile. But the question now, and for me, the $1 million question, CTV. It's a big screen, high CPMs, premium inventory. Does it have fraud? Because there is a perception that it's similar to the linear TV. I switch on the TV and I see the ad, I switch off the TV and there are no ads. So technically there shouldn't be any ad fraud. Wasim, what do you think about it?
$1 million question. No pressure. Uh, Thanks, guys. Look, CTV is often seen as a very premium environment, right? Uh, it's also because it's premium, people need to be worried. What a lot of people don't know is that when you turn off your TV, your ad is still being served. And I'll just explain it in I'll give an example, and I would like anyone on the call if they can just raise hands. I think it's gonna crash the call. But have you ever turned off your TV and then came back after 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour maybe, you turned it back on and you see Netflix is still there telling you just play whatever you were watching before you turned it off? Okay, so I'm gonna take that yes. So the idea is once your TV is off and these streaming platforms are running in the background, if an ad request fires, your ad is served. Your ad is served, but no one is exposed to the ad. So yes, there's a big gap there on CTV when you're looking at that premium platform. And also to add to it, fraud follows the money. Okay, fraudsters, they follow the money wherever the money is. Your CPM on CTV is really high, and they want part of that. Unfortunately, what I've seen in well, at least in our region, I don't know if it's globally, the guys can support on that, but in our region, people tend to, or brands tend to go to premium placements thinking that it's premium. So that kind of defies the logic that there's no fraud in it while they're actually going to the fraud places. So that's kind of a nutshell on TV.
Wow. So we defined fraud from a device perspective, general perspective. And I have a question to everyone on the call. Please put your answers in the chat. We'll give you 30 seconds to 1 minute to answer. But to everyone, let me give you an example and tell me if it's a fraud or not a fraud. It's a typical example which we all have seen at least for the past 5 to 10 years. An airline ad on a news website, an article showcasing an airplane crash. Is that a fraud or not? So just say yes, fraud, no, it's not a fraud. Amazing. I'm happy that I'm seeing so many answers. Great. So this is a relief, to be honest, that we are getting such answers. Let me start with Andrew. These answers means people differentiate between a fraud and non-fraud to an extent. But really, is ad fraud same as quality, same as brand safety or viewability? Do we treat it the same way? Do we measure it the same way? Do we report it the same way?
So we talk about media quality, and obviously that's part of what this panel is. Ad fraud is a component of media quality. So for us, media quality comprises essentially of ad fraud, one key component, viewability, brand safety, and making sure that it's delivered in the right geo. That's the core for us of media quality. So of course, ad fraud plays a key role within that. You can't look at these in isolation. You wouldn't look at your viewability in isolation or brand safety in isolation. It's this combination of these factors that delivers true media quality and delivers outcomes. If you think of, we talk about, can the ad be seen on the screen? Is it viewable? Is it seen by a human? Ad fraud. Is it in a brand safe or suitable environment for your particular brand? if one of these factors is missing, then you are not delivering effective media campaigns and not driving efficiencies.
Jonathan, I want to build on this point. Today, um, some would say I would be happy to compromise on Adfraud. It's okay to have some bots. I'm not paying for that in all cases. So, but at least I should keep my ad within a brand safe environment or viewable to the people. It's okay that fraud is there. I'm not paying for that in all cases, but at least when a human see it, it's in the right environment. How would you answer that? Is it making sense?
Yeah, I mean, go back to your question. It's the age-old question: airline ad next to an accident. I mean, personally, I wouldn't class that as ad fraud. I mean, I saw the answers there as well. It's more of a brand safety suitability issue. And when it comes to performance and brand safety and viewability, brand safety is really about like the context and where was it seen, what was the environment behind it, and is it suitable for the end advertiser. Where we sit in ad fraud, it's different. It's manipulated traffic, it's invalid activity, basically there to distort performance and pull out revenue. Fake clicks, fake installs, bots, fake views, spoof traffic, fake engagements, whatever that may be. And when you filter out the naughty things on the internet, if you will, that impacts optimization and campaign performance directly. So you can't bucket these into the same group from my perspective. From my side, what we sit and where we look at is, the question of, is this real traffic? Is it Jack or Jill, or is it a real human or not? And is this genuinely helping campaign performance? Because ultimately, if the user isn't genuine, or it's a bot, or it's a click farm, or it's a spoof device, whatever it might be, it's not trustworthy. And then again, that feeds the funnel. It impacts optimization, CPA, conversion rates, conversion quality, and basically overall campaign performance. Just because an ad was viewable, it doesn't mean to say that the user behind it was genuine. So by removing that and creating these dynamic exclusion audiences inside these platforms, then performance goes up, CPA comes down, conversion rates go up.
Great. Let me shift the gear now to some comparison between the region and the globe. The latest report, which was published a couple of weeks ago, showcased that our numbers in this region are increasing in terms of ad fraud, in terms, be it click spoofing, click farming, bots, etc., etc. Today, we are sitting at the last report, if I'm not mistaken, around 23 to 24% of the media inventory is sitting within so-called a fraudulent environment. Andrew, as a global tech partner, which I'm sure you work with tons of clients in North America, in Europe, in APAC. How does this number looks for you versus the global benchmark? Is it high? Is it within the benchmark? Is it low? What would you say?
I would say that fraud is increasing. You mentioned fraud increasing in the region. It is increasing globally as well. I think we've seen about a 20% increase year on year. I think that's partly due to the tactics that are employed, the sort of the technology that's available. AI, of course, is playing a role in that. They're becoming smarter, the fraudsters. From a MENA perspective, having worked in the region for a number of years, we see that obviously there's been rapid digital growth, and I think that has kind of caused some challenges. I think the publisher base can be more fragmented to some degree. As Jonathan mentioned, there's a high mobile usage, which historically relates to higher ad fraud than North America or Europe. I think education is a key piece as well. I think we're culpable as much as anyone else in terms of educating the market, which is why these kind of sessions are so great. The more education there is, the more verification and detection tools are used, and used to combat ad fraud. We see, as Jonathan said, around mobile app-based domain spoofing. But I will say that the gap is shrinking. I think it's no longer the Wild West. I think, I've been around when there was the so-called year of mobile that was coming, and that caused no end of issues from a fraud perspective as well. But as adoption grows, education grows, working more closely with tech partners, publishers, platforms to identify and to clean up the inventory. Zooming out from a global perspective, I think there are some trends that are universal. So, kind of more anecdotally, the types of bot traffic that we see at weekends versus during the week. So, it's the bot traffic tends to spike during the week rather than weekends. It seems like bots, or should I say, these human fraudsters, do take weekends off as well, which clearly reinforces that there are humans behind the bots. It's important to remember that. We see that bot traffic doesn't tend to change throughout the night, actually. So obviously people sleep, but the bots don't. And of course, with big events, like Wasim mentioned, fraud will follow premium inventory or just engaging events. So we tend to see that November, for example, globally sees a spike, whether that's due to kind of holiday traffic or Black Friday or just bigger events. Of course, we've got the World Cup coming up. There will be higher risks of frauds, opportunities for fraudsters to take advantage.
It's interesting to know that even bots has a human behind. So our jobs are all secured as humans, are not being taken by bots. Jonathan, do you agree that the growth of app business is affecting our quality of media in terms of IVT or fraudulent inventory? Would you say brands should have a more balance between apps and web? And when we had web, we had no fraud, and now because of the growth of app, that's why we started to have a growth in fraud.
Yeah, there's fraud in both. I think we all know that. That's obviously not news. But in terms of Andrew said it, Wasim said it, fraud follows money. And the more spend on mobile apps and performance advertising, whether that be web or mobile, it naturally becomes more sophisticated because the financial incentive becomes bigger. I think MENA, the GCC, the Gulf outside of the US, of course, is like one of the largest growing ad spends globally. And web and app fraud acts differently. So web, for example, you tend to see more like when they're not sleeping, bots, scraper traffic, fake clicks, competitor analysis, clicks. This activity's it's designed to inflate clicks and distort the engagement. But when it comes to apps, it's way more attribution focused. So, I mentioned before the click injection, SDA spoofing, and device farms. They're all designed to steal that credit for the install. And I think that's the dangerous part. And we did a app report last month, and for the GCC, mobile app fraud analysis, we analyzed around about 1.6 million installs across the Gulf, and 11.5% showed invalid characteristics, which is pretty high. Effectively, that means 1 in 9 installs is fraudulent, with Android being the highest. And I think you mentioned before, someone finance is the highest as well, because that's the highest ticket. So I think having partners, third-party kind of partners to verify that and to remove that is super important, whether it's on web or app.
Wasim, as a global media partner and a global tech, do you adopt different strategies in that case per market, per device? Like you spoke about CTV and how the reality is different than what many of us used to think. But also what Jonathan was saying now and earlier, Andrew, that the growth of app also is driving somewhat a growth in app and ad fraud and fraudulent installs, etc. Is it a different strategy by device, and is it different strategy by market? Like what you implement in the US, would it differ than what you implement here in MENA region?
Okay. So multiple layer question. Give me some time. There's a lot of things I want to discuss. Firstly, just to step back, because you mentioned CTV and I spoke about it. Just to put things into perspective when it comes to CTV, there was a study done by one of the big six, along with iSpot, which I believe it's also a measurement company. Total that is a US based study, obviously, because CTV is massive there. 17% of ad spend on CTV is wasted, that's roughly like $1 billion. We start off with $1 billion just flying away. Okay. This is where we're wasting on CTV. Number two, Andrew, like you mentioned, well, Andrew and Jonathan, you guys mentioned that we have two types of fraud: sophisticated invalid traffic and general invalid traffic. Sophisticated is the complex one. This is where the tech goes in, where the fraud labs all do all those updates, and it's always being updated. But what we are missing on this side, like Andrew said, not all traffic needs to be malicious. All fraud is not malicious. We have bot, we have scrapers, we have all of that. But we've seen in sophisticated invalid traffic, when it goes down. In general invalid traffic, it's actually going up year on year. And I want to ask just a quick question. I know this is not very related to the question, but because I just wanted to say it. Does anyone know why general invalid traffic, like the audience that is hearing us, why general invalid traffic is actually increasing? While sophisticated, based on the report that I read, it's 7% year on year lower if we're looking at EMEA alone. But why is general invalid traffic increasing? And I'll get back to the question that you asked. Absolutely, Sibin. Yes. So, in a nutshell, it's AI. Yeah. We've had bots forever through Google. We're doing search. You have bots, spiders, crawlers, scrapers, whatever you want to call them. They're there. But now you also have AI. So we're still using Google and we're super insanely heavy on AI. So whenever any one of us just goes and says, research about MIQ, I just wanted to say MIQ again. But research this website, MIQ website, does it have this? If the crawler, the scraper is there and the ad request fires, it's also seen. That's a wasted impression. And this is going to keep happening and growing. And the only way to prevent it is measurement. Now, back to your question, Abid. Yes, the base is there. The likes of IAS, Stapper, Double Verify, all the measurement partners, that's the base. But in certain countries, okay, I'll tell you the difference. If we're looking at this region and narrowing it down between UAE and Saudi, it's different. I want to see the Arabic capabilities because we're not talking about fraud alone. Okay, when we're buying quality, like Andrew said, it's brand safe and suitable, it's in the right geo, it's fraud free, and I forgot the
Viewable.
fourth.
Viewable.
Okay, with all four, right? If I want to identify brand safe and suitable, I need to have very high language capabilities, right? Specifically in Arabic for Saudi. So that's what we do. For the UAE, that's compared to the UAE. If we want to go globally, I'd say I'll take China as an example. China is a completely different ecosystem. And correct me, Jonathan, Andrew, correct me, guys, if I'm not sure if you guys have presence in China, because I know it's a completely different ecosystem, right? The SPs are different, everything is different. In China, what you need to know is 30% of the traffic in China is fraud. 30%. 91% of people are on mobile, which is great for Tapper. But but that said, 30% of that traffic is fraud, meaning which translates to $19 billion, guys, $19 billion only in China, right? That's a year. So in China, you have a different approach. In China, you work with different partners. someone like RTB Asia, probably, that helps navigate what we do. For example, giving you an actual example, what we do in China is um, it's a zero tolerance policy on fraud because fraud is so high, it's zero tolerance. Anything that's identified as fraud, the client doesn't pay for it. So yes, it differentiates from market to market, country to country, and region to region. But the base remains the same with the likes of IS, Tapper, and the rest.
I'm staying with you, Asim, to go through the next point.
Bring it.
Because yes, so in the past 3 to 4 months, and basically this trend started post the pandemic in 2020, and we started to see more of these kind of situations where clients switch off upper and mid funnel and activate more of a lower funnel budgets due to any kind of conflict or any disruption in the region, which leads to basically they want to justify every dollar they spent on media in terms of ROI. Even without that, without any disruption or conflict, we started to see more budget skews towards lower funnel and performance media. Today, with what I've been hearing from the three of you for the past 35 minutes, it's shocking. Today, there is not only a media waste or impression waste, we have a direct impact on performance. We are a direct impact on the actual lower at the bottom part of my P&L, because at the end of the day, ROAS is not what the marketeer will be looking for. It's not what the CFO will be looking for. They will look at ROI on your gross profit ratios, on the EBITDA, all of these things. Today, I'm sure you work with tons of clients, Wasim, at least in the region when it comes to performance media. How would you tackle this challenge?
Okay. It also starts by education, right? Everyone wants to buy CPL outcomes, performance based. And yes, look, I'm not on board with brands, even agencies, utilizing that, whatever money they have into performance to the lower funnel. Yes, everyone wants the lower funnel, but it has to be the full funnel to make it work. That said, when we run campaigns, every one of us, when we run campaigns, our aim is to deliver a clean campaign and optimize the campaign from the learnings that we're doing. This is something that everyone in market says. We want to optimize your campaign and drive it forward. If we're looking into a purely performance campaign, uh, we're delivering the CPLs or the leads that the client wants. Amazing. On fraudulent websites, if you don't have any measurement partners, you're getting those leads. You are happy as a partner. The agency is happy and the client is super ecstatic. The client will take those leads, send them to the sales team. The sales team will call them. They don't exist. Very crappy leads, to say the least. Now, that's one. This is where the ecosystem, where this circle is actually breaking. Now, the worst part is this is not called, I wouldn't call it wasted media impressions. I would call it corrupted intelligence because one thing that we aim to do, especially in performance campaigns, is to get learnings and optimize more and more. That algorithm that identifies that those websites are delivering me amazing leads, it's going to put more budgets towards those websites that have fraud, right? And you keep feeding the beast while thinking you're doing an amazing job. You can look the other way, but no matter what you do, look, verification is, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but 20 years ago when I came to market, when we used to do magazines, whenever someone is trying to sell a magazine to us, he would the first thing we would ask is, and for anyone who's new, we would ask about auditing. We would ask about, are you audited by BPA, I believe it was called. The minute they say no, we won't work with them. The minute they say yes, we're like, okay, everything seems fine. And verification is the auditors of your impressions. You can either sacrifice and buy cheap inventory, full of fraud, or just go with the quality one. So yes, it does affect performance beyond what the market can actually see because it hits the algorithm.
Jonathan, so
Yeah.
today, I'm sure, and many of the people on the call, especially from be it the agency side or the client side, would agree with me. Be it clients, planners, activation team, agencies, and even tech partners, the magic word between parentheses or the buzzword AI algorithm will optimize your campaign. We do have AI plugged in and it will optimize your campaign. You just tell me what's the ROI you want and the system will get it for you. Is it a CPL? Is it a CPA? Is it CPO? You name it. But if an AI and building on what Wasim was saying, today it's crucial. If my AI optimizer, even if it's a genuine optimizer, today we can't deny that Google PMax, TikTok Smart Plus, Smart Solutions of Snap, Meta Advantage Plus, and all of these solutions depend on the signals they collect from the campaign to optimize. So today, if you are telling me 12, 20, 15, 20, 25% of my leads were fraudulent, or 80% of my clicks are fraudulent, does this mean my campaign will be optimizing towards bots, not to humans?
Yeah, I think we touched base on that a couple of weeks ago when we got up. Half of the internet now is made up of bots, which is crazy when you say it out loud. Like half of the internet is bots. So what was it going to be in 10, 15, 20 years? It's just going to be bots talking to each other and we're not going to exist? Like what's going to happen? Like a new Terminator movie. And you're absolutely spot on. These platforms they're machine learning systems, right? So the big six and the app campaigns, you're spot on. They're optimizing using the signals that they're given. And the issue is that these algorithms, can only optimize based off that. So if you optimize on a bot, is that bot going to talk to another bot, and then and is it just going to carry on? And then once those bad signals, enter that optimization loop, it's hard to get it out. So they're influencing everything. It's biddings, decisions, audience expenses, attributions, all the stuff we talked about prior. And the dangerous part is that it looks positive on the surface, but over time the downstream quality deteriorates, and that's why we focus on performance. That's why we focus heavily on signal integrity and source trust, because ultimately, these platforms optimizing towards the signal they receive. So I think from a performance standpoint, no one wants to go back to the CMO and say, oh, we've spent 5 million, but we've only got however many leads, whatever it might be. It's removing the junk, removing the bad traffic. CPL does this, conversion rate does this. So yeah, we're just cleaning the funnel from the bottom, basically.
Amazing, Andrew. Today, as much as we wanted to try not to be technical on this call, to be honest, but we cannot deny the fact that attribution is affected. Who is winning the attribution? And what Wasim just said, and Jonathan complemented to what Wasim has said when it comes to the machine learning, the AI, the bots, etc., etc., etc. Who is winning the attribution? How we are crediting the attribution, be it on mobile or web, regardless. Today, if a bot filling the lead, or if the attribution is stolen from somewhere else, especially now, the magic word of lots of tech or media partners or owners would come and in their pitch say, I will charge you on lead, I will charge you on acquisition, I will charge you on order. But there is something behind it. There is an attribution question. Who is winning and who is getting the credit? So now, is it really a dangerous area which we are tapping into now, or it's okay, we can live with a mix of yes and no, okayish attribution modeling?
I mean, I think it's important to say that unfortunately we will never eliminate fraud. Unfortunately, it will be a constantly evolving landscape, as I've said. But, and there's other ways I could say this, but rubbish in, rubbish out. Um, Fraud generates, as both Wasim and Jonathan have said, it generates fake signals, which any attribution model will treat as a genuine user engagement. So that creates misleading user journeys, false touch points, attribution incorrectly assigned to channels or publishers or creatives that didn't actually drive an actual action by a real customer. So for platforms and channels, that can lead to excessive credit being given to one, less credit than one deserves given to another. And for us as a tech partner, that creates issues in terms of being able to optimize. If we don't have the correct data or if we're not optimizing towards the right outcome, then that's almost exacerbating the problem. So it's in our interest to serve brands, agencies, platforms, all tech partners, to clean up the inventory and to be able to try and reduce the pollution within the data. One thing I just want to touch on, I think, Wasim or Jonathan, you mentioned something about trust. I think we do need to talk about trust because as a tech partner, we hold brand equity. Brands entrust us. From a brand safety point of view, that's very understandable. But working with agencies as well, it's maintaining the trust of the brand of the agency for the publisher, for the platform, because the last thing any of us want to do is build on a loss of confidence in digital media, which then leads to a reduction in budgets. So working with any kind of tech partner, measurement, without measurement, you can't improve anything. So, you have to kind of see what you're dealing with. But I just wanted to mention that I think trust is really important. Obviously, working with the likes of the IAB, trusted partners to help try and drive this forward.
Um, this is great, but and I'm really happy you mentioned that, Andrew. We don't want to scare people. We don't want to end up with reducing more budgets, or basically people thinks all digital is fraud and don't spend on digital because digital is a fraudulent media. It's not. It's us. There is a role for us as agency partners, advertisers, tech owners, media partners to clean and ensure we are safeguarding, I would say, our industry. I have one last question, but I want to play it like a game. It's the same question to Andrew, Jonathan, and Wasim. Um, One last word and advice, but not to everyone. I want Andrew to say how we should tackle ad fraud and what you want people to leave with today. But your message should be to a media partner, Jonathan to an advertiser or a client, and Wasim to an agency. So let's start with Andrew.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that you need to use a trusted provider, whether that is an IS measurement. But I think it's important to use an independent third party partner for that kind of compliance and transparency. I think we mentioned it earlier on as well. Education as well. The more I've said it a couple of times, it's an evolving landscape. So it's constant education. We have been talking about fraud for a long time, with good reason, because it keeps changing, or the methods at least, and how we can tackle it, how we can improve it. So I would say working with an independent third party partner, educating, and constantly monitoring, auditing, optimizing. Obviously, I mean, we haven't really touched on it and we probably don't have time, but there is pre-bid, or there are pre-bid options available as well to almost cut it off at the source. So this doesn't need to be as much of an issue, but it's important you have the right partner in place.
Amazing. Jonathan,
Yeah, I
your
think
word is for an advertiser.
yeah, run for the hills. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I think look from my side, look, you break it down into 5 simple steps. Like, firstly, understand your invalid traffic rate. We're not here to scare you. We're not here to say everything on your ads is bad. You hit the nail on the head with what you just said. We're not here to scare anyone. Just understand what your invalid traffic rate is. If you're seeing unrealistically low IVT, then it's a problem. If you're seeing really, really high, then that's probably a problem. Secondly, monitor it during the optimization. Don't just do it after the campaign. These platforms are optimizing in real time. This is what we touched base on before. Thirdly, use an independent validation partner. Andrew just mentioned the same thing. Verification, traffic, performance partners. They add another layer of accountability to help you with your performance campaigns. Throughout the year and wherever campaigns you're running. And I think being more reactive than proactive from our side. The earlier this bad traffic is removed, then the cleaner the optimization comes. So, this is why, it's important to reduce that invalid traffic, which in turn reduces your cost per acquisition, and it gives you a stronger conversion rate and then overall better downstream performance. I think that was actually 4, not 5. So my maths is bad today, but that's what I'd say.
And Wasim, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but what's your message to the agencies?
To the agencies, you guys should work with us. No, but that said, I want to be more vocal to what Andrew and Jonathan are saying. You work with third parties, yes. You're an agency. You're basically representing the brand, right? You want to do what's best for the brand. It's murky waters out there, and I'll tell you specifically. Andrew said about pre-bid. What I say is people would say, why I'm using pre-bid, there's no need for post-bid or vice versa as an agency, right? The idea is you want to be safe. So the simile that I usually provide is it's the seatbelt and the airbag. If something slips through the pre-bid, the post-bid catches it, right? You need to protect your brand. You need to protect your client's brand equity, and it doesn't 100%. It does not stop at fraud. I know this is a fraud session. We're talking about fraud, but fraud, like the guys mentioned, is one side of the story. It's all interlinked to brand safety, suitability, viewability, and geo. Just to give you an example, what I used to tell agencies is that the first campaign I activated when I was on the verification side, the first campaign that was activated, it was targeting Qatar, and the ads were being served in Germany and Vietnam. So that's the smallest thing. I swear to God, that was the first campaign. And we had a campaign that had 60% fraud rate because they were running on made for ads websites, which is just a website that's full of ads. So I would tell agencies this is not something to be taken lightly. My pitch to agencies and clients, the first thing I say is there's no campaign that goes live without verification in place. When you're buying programmatic, which is, oh my God, the black box, you're buying something really bad, just completely annihilate that argument and says you're buying a quality impression. Tell me what do you want? Do you want the cheap thing? Go ahead. It's filled out. It's massive out there. Or do you want the quality side of things? And keep in mind, in 2028, just again to give context to how big fraud is, in 2028, fraud is gonna hit around 100 estimated, $172 billion. The war that happened was less. The budget for it was less than that. There are nations, GDP is lower than that. Uh, that's what I would say. It's not complimentary, it's a must.
And so I want to give an advice to close today. Before I do so, I want really to thank you, Andrew, Jonathan, and Wasim, for these great insights. Genuinely speaking, I think the market itself, agency, advertisers, media and tech owners, there is a misunderstanding of what is fraud, the value of fraud, and how important it is to define what is a fraud and how to prevent it. Today, we are not scaring people again about ad fraud. Today, we want to educate people about ad fraud. The same way we were educating people 5 or 7 years ago on the importance of brand safety. I remember when the first news article went out on COVID in 2020, brands were really scared to just advertise on any website because they did not want to associate themselves with the negative news. Ad fraud is as important as media quality. So thank you very much again. The last message I want to leave everyone with today, my message to advertisers, my message to media owners and media partners, and to agency colleagues. To the advertisers, measurement is not an option. Measurement is a must. I agree with what all of you have said. A campaign cannot go live without a third-party verification. And as post-bid is critical, also pre-bid, both together goes hand in hand. Today, for the clients that still consider verification as a non-working media budget, it affects your bottom line. It's affecting the actual performance. Today, we don't talk CPMs anymore. We are talking, you want to name it, quality CPM, authentic CPM, whatever you want to call it. It is a quality. It is a factor directly going into your media buying cost, media buying unit cost. So it's not non-working media budget. Second, if you are looking for ROI, I will give you a very small example, Mr. Client. Today, if your ad were seen or was served to only 10% of bots, that means you lost an opportunity of converting 10% of an actual human being. Even if you converted 1%, that's still better than zero. To media partners, what I would say is be open for discussions, be open for feedback from the clients, from the verification partners, which we tap into. Be open to the feedback coming from the client, questioning the inventory. It's not questioning your technology. It's not questioning your credibility. It's just trying to clean the industry together. For at the end of the day, everyone is working towards the best of our industry. Be open for these discussions. Be open for for the feedback. And finally, for the agency colleagues, keep educating yourselves. Attend these calls. Today, we have a media quality work stream within the IAB. So keep following the news. Use open source content. Reach out to your verification partner, be it Andrew, Jonathan. Everyone is always open, be it to educate, to support, and to audit basically what we are doing. We are here to have a reason for our careers, as much as sound cliche, but really myself, and I'm sure the Andrew, Jonathan, and Wasim, we have been in the industry for some time. I won't say more than 15 years, Wasim, don't worry. We truly believe that we belong to this industry. So let's bring the magic back again to our industry. Thank you very much. Over to you.